from one generation to the other, फेविकॉल का जोड़ इतना मजबूत है कि it flies through but an interesting 5 generations, but an interesting way of still showcasing how one can go about doing this. Okay, have a look at this. This is again an international work.
من هون من لبنان لا، خلقت هون، عشت هون، مدرستي هون، عذابي هون، بس بحس بغفلة. هلا بدنا نعملكم كبة بطاطا، بس أنا بحياتي مش طالعة من لبنان. طبخ تسافر وتسبقني. أنا شايف بدها بحدود النص ساعة ل 45 دقيقة. Recipe for Change gave these women a chance to license these traditional recipes to restaurants all over the world. It also helped Book grow its business beyond just supermarket shelves by gaining these new partnerships with restaurants, whether in Canada, US, or even in our own region in UAE and KSA. Dairy brand Puck has launched a heartfelt initiative.
So you guys, I think, got the point. So, yeah. So very relevant for, what we can learn from Puck is, such a thing can also be instituted in India. How do we? And some brands also do it. So I think one brand which instantly comes to mind is Maggi. There is so much of, history which we carry, so much of the brand which we cherish in our good times, in our bad times. I think there are so many memories of Maggi which we all have. Another very interesting one.
Estábamos trabajando en la tienda y de repente una clienta entró y nos avisó de que el barranco se había desbordado.
Lo hemos perdido todo. Un sueño de 30 años, ya te digo. He perdido el negocio. Pérdida.
JCDecaux, the leading outdoor partner for businesses, presents Still Open. We turned 650 ad spaces in Madrid's subway into the storefronts of dozens of closed businesses. Real-size pictures of real shops and their real owners. Closed in Valencia, but reopened in our outdoor ads. From haircuts to coffees, commuters could donate the price of whatever product the shops used to sell directly to the owners. We donated 1.5 million euro worth of premium spaces, usually reserved for big brands, to support the small ones that needed the most. So, as the streets outside Carlos' deli stood lifeless, over 2 million people walked past his store every day in Madrid, and Maria now sells her famous muffins in the wealthiest city in Spain. Using JCDecaux proprietary data, we strategically placed the stores in stations where they would have a higher appeal. And it worked.
San Robert, curiosamente, al metro de Madrid.
Creating such buzz that more struggling businesses joined.
Está bien que se nos siga viendo, la verdad.
A campaign that reminded us Valencia was still hurting and ensured we never forget them again. 5 weeks later, some shops are already back.
Pero ¿qué es esto que ha salido aquí?
Still open, will remain open, as long as there are people like Vanessa, Alex, Pedro, who refuse to stay closed.
Ahora estamos resurgiendo de la ceniza.
So see how a B2B company, it's an outdoor company, JC Dior. I think it won the Cannes last year in one particular category. I think it won the Grand Prix last year at the Cannes Advertising Festival by doing this kind of work. So you can really make a difference, and the solutions are so simple that on seeing such commercials, one does tend to think, "के boss मैंने क्यों नहीं सोचा ये?" This is so simple. It isn't like one huge tech big idea which would have never come in our heads. So this is like taking it, I mean, in the most common manner, taking that forward. Yeah. Yeah, Ruchika.
So a long time back, there was a campaign by Tata Tea, Jagore,
Yeah.
so where they raised awareness related to elections, corruption. So can
Absolutely.
it also be categorized under sustainable
Yes,
communication?
it can, precisely under the equity point. It obviously has to get classified. And the interesting thing about that campaign was that they not only, so a good call to action is always required. For example, they had a microsite. I think 10 years ago that campaign was there. And it's also a very, very interesting ad if you see. I mean, it has Kalin Bhaiya as the leader. And the guy says कि हाँ तो interview दीजिए, and he was like, नेता का interview कौन लेता है भाई? And he says कि boss, you are applying for the most important job, आपको देना पड़ेगा interview. And then there was a nice category inside that you start your day with tea to wake up, and that's the whole premise of Jagore for the last 10-15 years. And they have taken that inside in regional also. For example, 2 years ago, Tata Tea released an ad for specifically for the UP market. Because why does Tata do so? Because Tata Tea as a brand, they have, while they have some national brands, but they have brands also for specific regions. So there is a Kanan Devan or a Tata Sampurna selling in one part of India, which is not always available in other parts. So they do that communication, and it is absolutely, it comes under sustainability. So they had a microsite where you could apply, and it was 10 years ago. Now, if you want a voter ID card, I think the ECI has done a remarkable job to have a website and you can actually apply online. But 10 years ago, that was a huge, huge help for people to get an online a voting card per se. So it would definitely get classified as sustainable. Yeah. How much time do we have, Asad, Jamshed? Or we are done?
No, we have 25 more minutes.
Oh, we have 25 more minutes. Cool. So then let me show you some other interesting work. So, for example, now see this. So while one IKEA work was, very, very generic, this IKEA work is very insightful, and you will see for it as to why is it.
Don't you forget about me. I'll be alone, dancing, you know it, baby. Going to take you apart. I'll put us back together, heart, baby. Don't you forget about me. Don't you forget about me. As you walk on by, will you call my name? As you walk on by. So see, something which is such a relatable insight as to, I mean, we buy furniture and then we keep it, or beyond a few years, the utility of that furniture is not there. So something which appeals, something which happens to you, me, to all of us. It's such a fascinating insight, an insight which, I mean, which one you put your hand on, it brings a smile to your face, and such brilliantly crafted. And it's almost like a second-hand store which IKEA is building, and that's where the proposition is.
Yeah. Any thoughts, anyone?
Yeah, I have something to add here. There are
Yeah.
a lot of brands actually part of their vision again that who are talking about pre-loved, reloved, for example, and these are bespoke brands, these are studio brands, these are also large-scale brands. For example, there's a brand called Okai, which is backed by Tata, by
Mhm.
the Tata
Mhm.
Group, and it started on as a village initiative of the women. That itself is a case study, but it went on to acquire different artisanal groups and different mini brands, and it's a massive artisanal brand now, Okai, and they do these Okai relove. So they are investing in buying back the garments which are themselves hand embroidered and sourced with a lot of
Yeah.
love. And they are promoting this as a separate identity with a lot of communication which goes out calling for buying back offers and putting up the collections on sale. There is a very avant-garde designer in Pune who does a lot of work for the streets of Paris, and they are also doing this free love, free love. In fact, a lot of them are going out as high as auctions that you need to bid for it. And so there is a lot of, again, coming back to the fact that fast fashion is so dangerous and anti-earth. There's a lot of counter movement, and it's really heartening to see brands stepping up and doing their bits. So very similar to the second hand, and there's a lot of pop-ups which are also coming. So it's a movement. Social media is adding to it because it's being spoken about a lot, and going against, there's a lot of education that and myth busting, because the Indian psyche and insight is that you don't uttaran ke kapde nahi pehante hain. You may buy something else maybe for home, but
Yeah,
wearing
hand me
clothes
down for a strict no for some people, for some families. We have, I mean, when I was growing up or when my kids were growing up, I mean, it was like a family tradition of heirlooms, as what would we call, whatever.
yes,
हमारे चाचा ने ये शेरवानी पहनी थी, so and that's being given
right,
across to various generations. So when we still
right.
have that, so hand me downs, I mean, there are people who's like strict no ki boss, I'm not going to wear
Mm,
somebody else's. But I mean, yeah, for some people there is an emotional value, for some people there is a rational value, because this is absolutely fine. Why do you want to
yes,
waste it or throw it or cut it and make it into something else? So yeah,
yeah.
it can live through another generation as well.
So
Yeah.
thrifting is coming up as a
Yes.
very big
Absolutely.
industry, and
Yeah.
allied industries along, so logistics as well. So just
Yeah.
that.
So, as marketers or as students of this profession or as teachers of this profession, I think what we need to think, and that's the larger point of exposing to basically the global work, is that if given an opportunity to design a campaign, I mean, the brief still remains the same, and that's the most important thing. That what do you want to say? That's the most critical. So, for example, you will have to sieve through, and all this is not created like in a day, okay? And it is not like, I mean, it's not like Newton is sitting under the tree and an apple is falling and all of that is not happening here. So all this is a process. All this is a design. You come here through lots of sieve which happens. आपको छानना पड़ता है. For example, one of the David Ogilvy format of briefing, or the Ogilvy format of briefing is, and the first question there is, which says, what is keeping the client awake at night? So that's a very, very important question to ask as marketers, as students, as teachers, as to what is the problem one is trying to solve for. So that's a very good question to ask, that single-mindedly, because in a communication, you would want to say 5 things, but that might not make the best of communication. It is important for all of us to understand that narrowing it down to 1 or 2 things to say at max is what will help deliver the message. All great communication, if you see, is either giving 1 or at max 2 messages. It can't be like, I mean, change the entire world through one ad. And I mean, now with digital, we still have a 50 seconder or 60 seconder or whatever. But good old days of television advertising, it was fairly expensive. I mean, you could only do a 20 seconders, and there are format restrictions across. For example, in an IPL, you can't play an ad more than 20 seconds because, I mean, they'll have to pump in 3 ads. That's the time between change in overs and stuff like that. IPL is one of the, I mean, सबसे महंगा platform है ad खरीदने के लिए, but you reach the masses through that, etc., etc. So the larger question is that when given to design communication, the format or the brief does not change. It still remains single-minded proposition of what is the problem one is trying to solve for. That's a good question to ask. That, for example, take it like if you're going to a doctor. I mean, you don't say when you go to a doctor, as the meme says, man halka, man bhari sa lag raha hai. That panchayat thing of Dadi saying, kuch acha nahi lag raha hai. I mean, there are at times when you go and say that to the doctor. So imagine an agency, if the marketing person says, I don't know what to do. That's a wrong brief to give. So we need to be able to identify a problem. I mean, if I go to a doctor and say that I have an headache, he will order some test. There might be a cyst in the brain, a tumor in your brain, or it might be something to do with your eyesight. Right? So it is important to diagnose the problem first and then figure out what the solution is going to be. So that's a critical thing for us to remember. Okay, time for some more ads. What do I show you? Okay, Pak. Okay.
The days of heavy rain in southern Brazil.
Entire town submerged. The worst flood in decades.
Thousands of homes and businesses underwater.
Foi tudo por água abaixo, né? Perdemos tudo.
É até triste de ver muitas coisas tudo cheio de barro, tudo suja.
Não sobrou mais nada. Mesas, cadeiras, nada. Não tem mais nada que presta.
Bees is Brazil's largest B2B beverage supplier app. During the tragedy, we transformed it into the largest support app for affected bars. Using our real-time database, we mapped every affected region. Then, we sent a message to every bar. The app, which was originally used for delivering drinks, became a hub for delivering donations and repair materials.
Penso que cumprir a vida seja simplesmente compreender a marcha e tocando em frente.
We transformed our entire logistics operation into a crisis response network and got help to families in less than 24 hours.
Uma
parceria com a Ambev.
Barra louca pra descer de coração mesmo. Agradecer a Ambev aí por tudo que tem feito por nós aí. É preciso paz pra poder sorrir. É preciso chuva para florir.
Yeah, so I guess you guys would have understood the mota story on it. So how to use, for example, it was an app, it was a well-penetrated app, and they changed the app for that. So now that takes some effort to do. There has to be commitment from the leadership team, not just from the marketing team, that yes, somebody needs to decide that this is how the app will change. Okay. Yeah. So, okay, let's have a look at this.
53% of Ukraine's economy depends on food and agricultural exports. Now, landmines occupy 30% of our land, which is twice the size of Portugal. Countless agricultural fields remain dangerous.
It's scary when we're working in the fields. It's scary on the way back.
People can't work there, but someone else can. Introducing the Minefield Honey Project, led by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs together with Agricultural Group Colonel and powered by bees. The magic mix of nature and tech turned unsafe areas into flourishing gardens for honeymaking.
Додатково сільськогосподарських дронів заміновані поля засіяти спеціальним міксом з насіння або досить.
Unique beehives were designed. One side welcomes bees, the other warns humans to stay away. The hives were placed on safe areas in front of mined fields. And since bees collect honey as far as 2 miles away from the hive, it allowed them to cover huge areas that no one else would be able to use. The produced honey became a strong symbol of resilience and hope.
Мінних полів.
So classic
Exclusive honey jars.
case of Apda Mein Afsar, as we call it, that how for a country ravaged with war, as we all know, still somebody had that idea and the government coming into the picture and helping it out and to solve a genuine business problem and to make money out of it. I mean, ultimately, Zelensky carried this, to places where he's gone. So, for example, he's given this to Mr. Trump as well. And that's a huge story at the end of the day. Okay. Questions, anyone?
So, what challenges do the marketers or the organizations face while communicating the sustainability initiatives or designing, advertisements related to sustainability or sustainable communication? What barriers you as a marketer you can tell you have faced?
Barriers, more or less, to create good communication. Like I was explaining earlier, I think one needs to narrow down on the problem. Most marketers, it's tough. Strategy is all about making a choice. So you prioritize something over the other. Otherwise, if given an option, I would say, do this as well, A, B, C, D, E. I want to talk about all 5 of them in an ideal scenario. That yes, this is important. And that's the thing which we forget, that strategy is all about a choice. Out of those 5 things, what is the single most important thing which you want to say? So that is one. And B, I think one of the greatest challenges is, and especially in today's day and age, where everybody has an eye on you. When I say you, I mean the brand. That you can't be doing greenwashing or hogwashing the entire thing. You have to live the concept. And I can't be saying that, yes, I will save the planet and then I'll do stuff which is contrary to that. So that is a great challenge as to how do we have a call to action which actually lives the product. Okay. So very quickly, what I will also... So I think you guys can see my screen again?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is an ad which Piyush did long back, some 2 decades back, which says secondhand smoke kills. I hope everybody gets that reference of what is secondhand smoke. Yeah, anyone want to take this? What is being referred here?
So is it related to passive smoking?
Yes, it is related to passive smoking. So this is the quintessential imagery of a Marlboro man. The Marlboro man was the zenith of a macho man. Where he used to smoke and he was a cowboy. And what this ad says, this press ad says that, or whatever this poster says, that uska ghoda hi mar gaya yaar. So second hand smoke kills. So I just wanted to show it's not just in a video you need to capture an idea. Idea can be captured in a still as well. Now this is a very interesting thing. Have a look at this one. This breaks stereotypes. I think it breaks a lot of stereotype. When you show lipstick and say this is an ad for men. I am a woman in leadership roles. We are all worth it. And then it says profitability, 50% revenue with female leaders.
So I have a very interesting response. So I showed this, I teach advertising and I'm also from the industry.
Okay.
Fair bit there. So I showed this last week to my students and I also showed it to my contemporaries. So the response was very interesting to note that the Gen Z folks didn't like this ad. They didn't take to it.
Yeah, I know.
It was,
in today's day and age, it is quite sexist to show this imagery and to say that lipstick for women, it takes the debate somewhere else, but
Yeah.
fair enough. And we must, and that's the other problem with advertising nowadays, that can you be provocative enough? And if it is provocative for you, it might be offending for me. And then we get
Yeah, I think the polarizations is very stark right now.
Yes.
Earlier it wasn't so.
Yeah, it wasn't that stark, but I mean, not a good thing to say. For example, if you remember in recent memory, last 5-6 years, I think there was a Tanishq ad, and the controversy
Yes, it was. Yes, the backlash it received.
Yeah,
It
the
had
backlash.
public
And it
apology.
impacted business. It impacted safety of Tanishq employees.
Yes. Yes.
So, I mean, I have myself been guilty of doing such an ad. I was working with Tata Docomo as a client, and we thought it was a funny script. This was what? This was
30 years. Roughly 25, 28.
No, not that long. No, I'm not that old. I've been working since 25 years, but that's okay.
Tata Docomo was there, 20.
Yeah, 15 years back or whatever. Yeah. So we did an ad which was trying to showcase the power of the network, and the Hutch Doug Boy had already come in, so we were all like, who can beat that ad? And so in one of the commercials, it was a story, but what we showed in that commercial, and it was aired and then taken down. Tata was alive then. I mean, we had a long con call, and that story for some other day to show the greatness of that man. But essentially, the ad showed in a way that the house help picked the phone and she kept it here. And then as she was going out, it rang. And that's how she got caught. So there were protests outside the Tata house in Bombay saying, ki, boss, you are maligning house helps. So, I mean, there is no end to it, to this conversation. So, phir dikhayenge kya and whatever. So there were both pros and cons, and we had national television people at 9 p.m. debating this as to why this is happening and this is so non-Tata. Because Tata Docomo as a brand was built on irrelevance. So if you are the number 8 player, I mean, you need to have a different calling card. So we needed to push the boundary, and that was our brief to the agency. So that's for some other day. But yes, you are absolutely right that things which I would say is pushing over the edge and creating communication which people remember can be offending for someone also. So that's why, and I think Tanishq is a great example where people threw stones at Tanishq stores and all of that happened. So employee safety became a question, and I don't think that is the right way to do business. But nevertheless, yeah. So just quickly I think this is a very interesting piece of communication. I think specifically if you look at the category, so Burger King, what they did was they tried showing, for example, below if you see day 1 and then top day 33, that this is how your burger would be on day 33 if no preservatives were used. It was very, very bold. I mean, it was a success. I don't know how many marketers would be brave enough to do this communication. So imagine if you are the first thought at it is that this is repulsive. Ki, boss, main ye kha raha hu kya? But no, the point there they were trying to make is that we aren't using preservatives. Our competitors do. We don't use preservatives in our product or whatever other colors in our product. So this is another interesting case. This is again Patagonia, which says like that, don't buy this jacket. So a very interesting way to arrest attention. Especially in Delhi, imagine something like this going up. This billboards absorbs air pollutant in today's day and age, where the AQI is hovering around 600. So again, so it's not just that you have to do it just for a causevertising. I mean, just for a cause, you're doing an advertising for it. That might not be true. I mean, this says it all. Why can't brands? I think this was done not in India. I think this was done in Philippines or somewhere. But an interesting thing for marketers to come up and do something like this at least gives people some kind of respite for sure. Okay, that's it. Any questions, guys? So this is another interesting one. So there's no need for the brand to come in. You guys can all guess what brand we are talking about.
Please take questions so that we can.
Yes. So questions, guys. I'll end on one commercial. but questions, all set for questions. Anyone, anything? Sorry, I think I'm almost exceeded my time. I think 3 minutes left. So I just want to show, I don't know how many of you would have seen this ad, but let me just share this one with you.
உள்ளங்களிலே இன்பம் பெருகிட மனதில் இறைகின்றான் மனதில் இறைகின்றான் ஆயும் தந்தையும் விரும்புவதெல்லாம் உன்னேதானுங்க ஐயா பொன்னேதானுங்க கல்லுக்கு கல்லான காந்த பிள்ளை புள்ளி விளையாடியே மனதை தகிழ செய்வனுங்க மகிழச் செய்யணுங்க மகிழச் செய்யணுங்க தெய்வம் தந்த செல்வமையா நான் பெற்ற செல்வமையா ஆரோக்கியமும் அறிவும் பெற்று வளர்ந்துட்டானையா மனம் மகிழ்ந்தோமையா நாமே மகிழ்ந்தோமையா இந்த மகிழ்ச்சியும் வேதனை எதுவும் மறந்திடும் ஐயா ஐயா நாளொரு மேனியும் பொழுதொருவன் என் மகன் வளருகிறான் உள்ளங்களிலே இன்பம் பெருகிட மனதில் இறைகின்றான் மனதில் இறைகின்றான்
मेरा बच्चा 5 साल का हो गया।
इतना सब 5 साल में कौन सी बड़ी बात है?
बड़ी बात है मैडम, ये गुंडापा का पहला बच्चा है जो 5 साल की उम्र तक पहुंचा है।
Yep. So on that emotional note, so we finished right on time, Jamshed Saab. 9 o'clock.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, sir. Rishika, please.
Thank you, sir, for contributing your expertise and adding value to this FTP. We are very thankful to you for sparing time, and it was really very insightful and interactive session today all of us had. And if anyone has any questions, so please we can discuss and you can ask your questions and share your queries one by one if it's there.
Yeah, please, more than happy to answer, and the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much.
Yes. Otherwise, we can close the session with sir's permission.
Atif sir, I have one thing.
Yes, please.
Just observation actually. We were researching on a topic called greenwashing.
Yeah.
So, what to do? Say, for example, are there companies actually who are literally involved in greenwashing?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, see, you can't be painting. I mean, yeah, it's a simple fact. अच्छे लोग हैं दुनिया में, बुरे लोग हैं दुनिया में. I mean, so that would always happen. So greenwashing or green hushing, as you would want to call it, I mean, that is a reality, and that exists. I mean, and there are huge big company. For example, the Apple ad was trolled for a long period of time when they came out with the Mother Nature ad. It was trolled massively. That boss, what is this? And I think the best criticism I remember was that it was being dubbed as a skit. Because this is just a skit. How can a company who every year want to sell more phones have zero carbon emissions and stuff like that? But I think they put their point in very specifically and very in an engaging manner with Tim Cook also. So they put a lot of skin in the game. So I mean, and you can get accused for even so. I mean, I would want to believe that Apple would have, because it's unlike I mean, in India, where the accountability is very negligible, and not just today, it has always been. For example, I don't know if you remember Warren Anderson. Warren Anderson was the CEO of the Bhopal gas tragedy plant. And what happened to him, he was extradited, I mean, in 2 nights from here to the USA. So, and so a lot of these things happen, and it's not just a India problem, it's also a global problem. So, for example, BP gets accused a lot. I mean, with huge oil spills in the ocean, BP has been for decades being accused, and then they fund a lot of other CSR activities, but they say, and in real life, I mean, see what's happening to, I mean, I won't call out that brand, it will seem a little odd, but a film star who's created a whole new brand for himself and who's earning money and is earning a lot of accolades. So some people accuse him of also greenwashing or greenhogging. And what is that brand? When did it come up? It's only after the accident that that brand arose. Another interesting point is Indri. I don't know how many of us drink, but you know who owns the brand Indri? It's now India's number one world
The
brand.
one who killed Jessica. I forgot
Yes,
the name.
It is Manu Sharma's Piccadilly
Manu
Industries.
Sharma. Yes.
Manu Sharma's brand.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you see Indri's logo, so Indri's logo has a bindi.
Hmm.
Okay, that bindi, and if you see Jessica Lal, all her
Okay.
photographs which were there, even in the article, in the TOI article, which had a headline, "No one killed Jessica," on which a movie was also made. I mean, she's always being shown with a bindi.
Hmm.
Some people say that, I mean, or I don't know, it's, I mean, it could just be a strange coincidence, even if it is. That imagine Manu Sharma has changed his name to Siddharth Sharma now. He's now the owner of Piccadilly Industries. It's a 20,000 or more, 20,000 crore company now. It is India's number one single malt, won numerous awards in India and the globe on being one of the finest single malts brands in India. What would you call that? So it is a reality in our lives. Now, one part is, boss, you should not be paying money or doing business with someone. There is another side of it also, which people say that, boss, okay, he has done something wrong. He's suffered. I mean, he's taken his time out in jail. Who are we now to judge him? So there is no end to this debate. We all are rational people. We can all take our decisions. And yeah, but there are times, for example, like we say for journalists that, I mean, the great quote in journalism is that if someone says it is raining, and if there is someone which says it is not raining, the job of a journalist is to open the window and check out, and not just to report it is raining or it is not raining. You need to open the window and check. That's the job. So as advertisers, as marketers, as students of advertising, or as teachers, or as leaders, it is our job to see things, to assess things, to get to the bottom of the things, and then react to it. That's it, guys. Yeah. Any more questions? More than happy to take it. I think we have 2 minutes more. We are already at 9:06. Yeah, 6 minutes.
Ruchika, please give
And-
vote of thanks.
That's been given. Thank you, Ruchika.
Yes,
Thank you all. I would
a
have
really very insightful
person.
session,
Yeah.
and all the storytelling, all the advertisements that you have shown were very good, and I'm sure it would have also added value to the participants who were